Hello, Betsy McGinn, board member, Community Coalition on High-Speed Rail. Nice to address you and see you today. I am not here on behalf of the Community Coalition, though. I'm here on behalf of 3 Southern California groups that could not be here: the Rancho Bernardo Community Council, the San Pasqual Lake Hodges Planning Group, and the Rancho Bernardo Community Planning Board, who oppose this project for the same fiscal, environmental, and feasibility reasons that so many of us do in this room. I'm doing this because I want to make sure that you know that, as we've been characterized in the past as a handful of NIMBYs from the peninsula, we are among many friends now. I've been addressing this board as a rotten apple for longer than many of you have been on this board. So we are here, and we're here to stay to make sure this project is either done right or not at all. Yesterday, I was reading on the Capitol Alert that we are on track for another $2.5 billion budget cut for the state, which will affect education and social services. So I want to ask you, which one of you will be the ones to tell teachers that their jobs are less important than construction? Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. McGinn.
Is Mr. Louder here? Okay.
I was just in the process of writing my speech when you called my name. I apologize. I had written an article some months ago I called Bipolar Express, and I'm going to just read a couple of sections from it. And I have noticed that the Rail Authority has a difficult time justifying cost, and in defending itself, a lot of times the recourse has been to indulge in the indefiniteness of sentiment as a means of persuasion. The strategy is to use trite, shallow sound bites such as progress is the future and for the greater good in lieu of substance. Such authoritative sounding but insupportable certitudes are meant to quiet skeptical inquiry, the implication being that anyone in opposition must be whining naysayers to progress and all that is good, noble, and patriotic. But you say it is the future, but no one knows what the future will look like any more than anyone could have predicted some 30 years ago, the full and continuing impact of the Internet. That innovation was one which grew out of a culture that was poised and ready to accept it. It is an example of progress that arose organically within, from within, not one that was artificially imposed from without. We now find ourselves in an age where the mass movement of information, not people, seems the more realistic predictor of things to come. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Louder. Ms. Benson?
I'm Bobby Benson. I'm from Burlingame, California, which is on the peninsula on San Francisco Bay. The route that you have in mind is definitely in question. Going up the peninsula in this densely packed towns, not wise. You don't have the money to put the tunnel underground. If you don't have the money, if it's impossible to afford, and of course it is, we'll wait until you can afford it, to do it right. If you must come up the peninsula at all, we wish you'd come up the East Bay. They're going to have a negative impact on these small, densely packed towns. Economically, we'll lose businesses. That's our tax base. Socially, it's going to ruin our downtown revitalization plans in these towns. Socially, it'll widen the gap of the tracks. 120 feet will cut out our trees. It'll ruin it if you're going at grade, absolutely ruin our small towns. Every single one of them will feel a devastating impact. And security-wise, densely packed areas, schools, too close to our local traffic. It is not a wise decision to come up the peninsula. We'll go to San Francisco. We'll go to San Jose. Please, fellas, don't come up the peninsula. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, members of the board. First, I'd like to compliment you on your lovely image up there. Unfortunately, as human beings, we'll never be able to see it quite from that angle because we don't fly. It'd be nice if you showed this project from the ground up. I've traveled here as part of a group called highspeedboondoggle.com. That's www.highspeedboondoggle.com. But I'm here today to speak to you and Governor Brown as a Democrat. As a Democrat, I believe in providing good public transit options and a great deal of other ideals. But I've analyzed this project in a myriad of ways, and with each analysis, I conclude that I can't, as a good Democrat, condone this project. It creates jobs by sacrificing others. It builds new infrastructure while neglecting existing infrastructure. And it siphons critical education funds and transfers it to a transit system that has yet to prove its necessity. So, members of the board, Governor Brown, the question is, what devastating impacts will this project bring to California? But also, what impact will it have on the Democratic Party? Thank you very much.
Thank you. Ms. Paff, followed by Mr. Ted Crocker.
Hello, I'm Jennifer Pfaff. I'm from Burlingame. I agree with actually most all of the comments that have come before me, so I'm not going to repeat them, but I do think this is, it's simply fiscally irresponsible when we have so many other needs. And I can talk about needs in our community, but there are many others that are hurting a lot more. Regarding the Segway, that's the acronym for the Simidian-Gordon-Eschew proposal, or Eschew-Gordon proposal, that considers a two-track blended system until it, and if would be necessary to go to the four. We're not really comfortable with that, and I hate to see the press reports saying that we are. We don't feel any better about that, at least I don't. I think that leaves open a lot of problems, continues to leave open problems that didn't address the EIR, that's never been completed, has not really addressed the ridership that's still in question. There's still, when this was brought up in the first place, and I was well aware of it, it was meant to be a starting point. It wasn't an end point. It was a starting point for discussion, and it hasn't been well fleshed out. And I think to take that now and say we're okay with that, we're feeling better, I can tell you we're not feeling better at all. And I hope you consider that as we go on. Let's see if I had anything else. I think I'm not going to waste any more time. I basically just want to make sure you know that. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Ted Crocker. I'm a co-founder of High Speed Boondoggle. I'm a registered independent, and I'm not happy to be here. In what universe does it make financial sense to stick with something where the increasing costs have outstripped the increase in funding by 20 to 1? And that doesn't include the finance costs. I can only conclude it is a universe where the final dollar amount doesn't matter. A universe where returning the federal dollars doesn't matter. What matters is getting the shovels in the ground. When I voted for high-speed rail, and I did, I read the bond measure, and it read like a feasibility study. The State Senate's June 2008 report on high-speed rail made it clear to the voters this project would not be a conventional pay-as-you-go infrastructure project. Now I'm hearing otherwise. If high-speed rail couldn't be built as promised, it wouldn't be built. The board seems to think a yes vote gave them a mandate from God to build high-speed rail no matter what. And apparently our legislators do too. It's clear to me that both the board and our legislators have lost all touch with reality. And apparently Jerry Brown is still earning his nickname. This is not what I voted for.
Thank
Is
you,
there
sir.
any wonder why there's general
We'd be happy
unrest
to,
in the populace?
if you'd like to submit written comments, that'd be great.
Honorable Chairman Umberg, I'm Kathy Daylock. I'm a 10-year councilwoman with the City of Burlingame, two-time past mayor. And I come on behalf of our residents, many of whom, if you would identify yourselves in the audience, who have come together to share our concerns, continued concerns, about the effects on our town Essentially, our town will be split in two no matter what system is eventually adopted. Caltrain was born in our town in 1894, and our town developed around it. It's essentially the center of our city. So the impacts will be great no matter what your decision. And some might say, well, why are you here? The Peninsula EIR has been suspended. We're focusing elsewhere. Why not let the Central Valley get built and the money will be run out and you won't have anything to worry about anymore? But if someone reminded me to do that is un-American. I'm concerned for those folks in the Central Valley, same as I have for the folks in Burlingame, California. And what I want you to think about, a $99 billion mandate, which was a $33 billion mandate 3 years ago. Is this what the voters expected, that there was an open checkbook to build high-speed rail no matter what? And I care because by the time it gets to our section, there won't be funds to do it correctly, and the long-term ramifications of being collateral damage will really damage our town for the next 100 years. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor.
Okay, I'm Mary Helen McMahon from Burlingame, co-founder of High Speed Boondoggle. I'm here to address you, the governor, and California legislatures. I am really concerned that this plan, which I believe is flawed, has become a jobs bill somehow. And I'm concerned that the estimates of your job increases are grossly inflated on a net basis. California has to spend money on transportation. It's either going to be high-speed rail or airports and highways, according to the discussions that you have in your business plan. Construction jobs for high-speed rail will include transfer of construction jobs from these other much-needed transportation projects as well. Similarly, when this train, if it is operating, jobs will be transferred from the airline industry to this one. So I would encourage you to relook at your job estimates and present them in a way that people understand what the true net increase, if there is a net increase in jobs, is because of this rail program. Because this program is currently being sold to many people in this country, including in this state, including our legislatures, as the answer to our economic and job situation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Charles Volz. I'm affiliated with the Community Coalition on High-Speed Rail. I first want to point out that there is a gigantic gamble that lies at the heart of the new business plan, and that concerns the lack of available or identifiable funding for the what's called the initial operating segment. That's the part that would extend from the initial Central Valley project to either San Jose or to San Fernando Valley. There is nothing more in fancy language than a hope and a prayer how that money might be achieved. It ranges in something like $25 to $30 billion. It is absolutely critical. If that money is not available, this project will die on the vine and we'll be left with something that will approach the notorious train to nowhere. In effect, you're rolling the dice with public funds. You're betting on the come. That's dangerous in Las Vegas. It's even worse as a matter of taxpayer money. It's not responsible public policy. Finally, I would say that this is a new plan that is not what the voters approved. If the same laws applied to this board that apply to most businesses, this would be the biggest bait and switch in California history. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Volz.